which is semi-permanent. Just like they did with zinc panels, they join the pieces together, making sure there are no gaps. The roof is over 9 meters high. Just looking at it could make anyone shiver.
약한 거예요. 이렇게 센 것도 있어요. 그러면 여기다 밧줄 묶고 저기다 걸어놓고 이렇게.
이 정도면 그래도 양호한 편인 거예요?
그렇지. 이 정도면 뭐 이거는 여기서 아무리 미끄러질래도 안 미끄러지잖아.
The prefab house that had been built according to the client's taste is completed. The second floor of the house is turned into a living space for the family. From a dining table to a sofa, beds, a TV, and even a small kitchen, all the furniture and appliances they need have been installed.
일본식은 스팀 사우나입니다. 이게 온도가 거의 50도까지 올라갑니다. 여기 보시면 피로폰들은 제격이라고 좀 생각을 해서 설치하게 됐습니다.
The screen golf room that was built at the client's request is on the first floor.
이 대형 와일드 화면을 가지고 여기서 영화도 볼 수 있고 게임도 할 수 있고 그다음에 스크린은 물론이고 다양하게 놀이를 즐길 수가 있는 거죠. 이 스크린이 있음으로써 이 대형 화면이 있음으로써 굉장히 느낌이 다르죠. 기존에 소극장에 온 듯한 그런 느낌을 받을 수가 있는 거죠.
와, 준혁아, 집이야. 우와. 앉아봐. 혼자 신발 벗고 누워봐. 너무 좋아요.
편해요.
층간소음 걱정 없고 우리만 지낼 수 있는 공간이 있어서 너무 행복합니다. 여기 봐봐, 여기 스크린 왔어. 우리가 갔던 골프장보다 훨씬 좋아. 와, 사이즈도 더 큰 거 같아. 훨씬 큰 거 같아. 와! 이 모듈러 하우스를 통해서 우리 가족들하고 같이 함께 골프도 치고 아이들이 좋아하는 놀이공간도 만들 수 있고 우리 가족들 취미와 생활에 맞는 공간이 구성이 돼서 너무 좋습니다.
I hope that this home, built through the hard work of many, can bring happiness to the family.
껍데기는 가라, 알맹이만 오라. 그래서 플라스틱이나 일회용 포장지로 이렇게 둘러싸여 있잖아요. 그 껍데기를 치우고 알맹이만 리필하자는 의미에서 그래서 무포장 제품들을 판매하고 있습니다. 좋은 점은 자기가 원하는 만큼만 살 수 있다는 거예요. 비우고, 헹구고, 분리하고 이런 과정을 거치지 않아도 되는 거죠. 저희 손님들이 자기 용기를 사용해서 새 플라스틱을 줄인 이제 1년 결과를 내보면 거의 10만 개 정도 플라스틱 공병을 10만 개 정도 아끼거든요. 그래서 이런 가게들이 많아지면 새 플라스틱 사용도 줄이고 쓰레기가 될 물건들도 구조해서 재활용시킬 수 있는 거죠. 우리가 플라스틱을 배출한 다음에 얘들이 어떤 루트를 타고 어떻게 재활용이 되거나 버려질까 이걸 직접 눈으로 보고 싶어하는 쓰레기 덕후들이 이제 저희 주변에 많아요. 보시고 난 전후가 다르다. 굉장히 쓰레기를 보는 자세, 쓰레기를 어떻게 줄일지에 대해서 획기적으로 자기 자세가 바뀌게 됐다. 이런 말씀 되게 많이 해주셔서 힘을 내서 매달 하고 있습니다. 사실 낯서니까 힘들어하시는 것 같아요. 낯서니까 더 불편하고 힘들다고 생각하실 텐데 여기 오실 때는 가벼운 마음으로 오시면 됩니다. 저희 손님들이 기증을 해주신 깨끗한 용기를 저희가 한 번 더 소독을 해요. 그다음에 쫙 무료로 비치하기 때문에 그냥 오시면 되고요. 오셔서 이제 무게를 재는 방법들은 저희가 다 설명을 해드릴 거예요. 나는 알맹이만 담는 그리너입니다.
More fans from all over the world. Local consumer prices continue to hover at the 2% rate in April.
Turning to robots to allow the visually impaired the chance to better indulge in cultural experiences. Like the number of hybrid cars are registered in South Korea has surpassed 2 million using its locally developed Yuri rocket.
Arirang.
The moment we wear it, our spirits lift. It helps us grow strong in body and in mind. As we wear it, we learn patience and respect. The belt system motivates students to strive harder and continue growing. This uniform shapes movement into grace and turns performance into something thrilling. Now, embraced around the world, Taekwondo shares our culture, philosophy, and values with pride and spirit. Though it may seem simple, this uniform holds your passion and your journey. It belongs to Taekwondo. Wear the extraordinary. Be with Taekwondo.
A top 5 global bio powerhouse by 2030 is South Korea's goal as President Lee Jae-myung meets with biotech companies and pledges an open approach toward regulatory reform in the sector. In the U.S. state of Georgia, an ICE raid targeted a mega plant run by Hyundai Motor Group. Hundreds of workers were detained, some of them South Korean nationals. The Foreign Ministry says it's working with the U.S. government to work things out. It's been 2 days now since the Lisbon tram crash, but we're still learning more. 2 South Korean nationals are among the 16 victims who lost their lives. As President Lee Jae-myung offers his condolences, we have the latest. We begin our coverage with Korea's vision to become a top 5 global leader in the bio industry by 2030. President Lee Jae-myung says he will take an open approach toward regulatory reform in the bio sector. He was at a discussion table today in Incheon, setting a goal to double Korea's bio exports within 5 years. Our presidential office correspondent Yoon Jung-min reports.
The bio industry is key to Korea's future growth engines, and the government is open to cutting red tape. That was a message emphasized by President Lee Jae-myung on Friday when speaking at an open roundtable in the city of Incheon, where a bio-specialized complex is located.
바이오 산업 자체가 자율적으로 또 창의적으로 공정하게 일할 수 있는 환경을 만들어 주는 것이라고 생각합니다. 세계에서 대한민국을 대표해서 경쟁할 때 뒤에서 든든하게 받쳐주는 지원이 중요하지 않을까 그렇게 생각합니다.
With biotechnology picked as one of the administration's 5 next-generation growth engines, Lee noted the need to expedite R&D certification procedures and ensure a fair system where no monopolies are allowed. A goal was set to double bio exports by 2030 and make Korea one of the world's top 5 biotech powerhouses, for which a policy vision was laid out.
We will improve regulations so that people in the field can actually feel a difference. Second, we will accelerate growth by linking technology, manpower, and capital. Lastly, we will strengthen global competitiveness through corporate growth.
For instance, the authorities vowed to preemptively create a roadmap for new drugs designed by AI and shorten the review period for biosimilar products to less than a year. This used to take more than a year. Present at the roundtable, which was broadcast live in full, were more than 100 people from the bio sector, including Samsung Biologics.
In Korea, there's only one market operator, and it performs corporate reviews, IPO reviews, and market monitoring, creating a systemic limit. I suggest that the market monitoring system be separated as an independent organization.
이번 검토를 한번 해봐야 될 좋은 지적 같습니다. 시장을 좀 다양화하고 감시 기능을 좀 떼내서.
Also suggested were calls for more funding for companies entering costly clinical trials, faster drug approval reviews, and ensuring long-term research stability. Yoon Jung-min, Arirang News.
Now, over in the U.S., federal authorities conducted a major raid at a Hyundai Motor Group facility in Georgia on Thursday local time, with reports indicating that several Korean nationals were also detained. For more, we go live to our reporter Moon Ye-ryun. Ye-ryun, what can you tell us about this operation and its target?
That's right, Toyon. So U.S. immigration and law enforcement agencies converged on a construction site for a new electric vehicle battery plant that's part of the sprawling complex where Hyundai manufactures electric vehicles. This massive project is a joint venture between South Korea's Hyundai Motor Group and LG Energy Solution and is one of the state's largest investments. According to ATF Atlanta, which is the Atlanta division responsible for enforcing federal criminal law in the United States, around 450 were detained in total. Dozens of Koreans are believed to have been taken into custody. While the Ministry of Foreign Affairs has not yet confirmed the exact number or their visa status, it is thought that they were in the U.S. on short-term business visas. ATF Atlanta shared images on social media of the raid, emphasizing their commitment to community safety. For a major Korean investment, this is a significant and unexpected disruption.
Right, and what has been the response from the South Korean government so far?
So the ministry held a briefing on Friday afternoon where it expressed regret over the situation and vowed to take active measures. Take a listen to what the spokesperson said.
The economic activities of our companies investing in the U.S. and the rights and interests of our citizens must not be unfairly violated during the U.S. law enforcement process.
A government official told the press following the briefing that the detainees are currently being held at a U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement detention facility, and the ministry was still in the process of confirming whether there is an issue with their visas. In response to this turn of events, they are dispatching consuls from the Korean Embassy in Washington and the Korean Consulate General in Atlanta to the site to form an on-site response team centered at the local consulate. A request was also sent to the U.S. Embassy in Korea that special care be taken not to infringe on the rights and interests of South Korean citizens. And that's all I have for now, so back to you, Toyan.
All right, thank you for the report. Now in Beijing, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and Chinese President Xi Jinping held talks last night, reaffirming friendship and discussing a variety of issues. Our Kim Bo-kyung has more.
North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and Chinese President Xi Jinping's meeting signaled the restoration of close ties that had grown distant due to the recent North Korea-Russia rapprochement. The two met at the Great Hall of the People on Thursday, marking the first such meeting since 2019, with Kim visiting China in January of that year, while Xi visited Pyongyang in June. During the meeting, the two leaders shared the pleasure of seeing each other yet again and agreed to work together to safeguard their common interests as part of what was described as a community of shared destiny.
In the face of a turbulent international landscape, China stands ready to strengthen strategic communication, enhance exchanges and cooperation, and deepen exchanges of experience in governance with the DPRK, so as to effectively advance our respective socialist cause and jointly promote regional peace, stability, development, and prosperity.
The past 6 years have seen earth-shaking changes and development in China, which impressed me greatly. What touched me even more is the unwavering and profound friendship between our two peoples. Despite the ever-changing world, this friendship will never change.
While touting the development Beijing achieved, Kim stressed the regime's readiness to deepen economic and trade cooperation to achieve greater results. When it comes to the tension on the Korean peninsula, Kim did mention how he appreciated China's, quote, fair stance regarding the issues, to which Xi responded that China will continue to strengthen coordination with the North to safeguard peace and stability in the region. However, the joint statement released by China after the meeting did not include any mention of the denuclearization of the Korean peninsula. Kim arrived at Beijing Station at 9:50 p.m., departing on his special train 50 minutes later. He is expected to arrive in Pyongyang on Friday afternoon if he heads straight back. His fifth visit to China was his longest one on record, lasting 4 days and 5 nights.
His stay in Beijing was also his longest at around 54 hours. 김보경, Arirang News.
National Assembly Speaker Woo Won-shik is back here in Seoul from Beijing, having attended China's Victory Day parade on behalf of the South Korean government. Our political correspondent Shin Ha-young reports.
After attending China's Victory Day ceremony as South Korea's representative, National Assembly Speaker Woo Won-shik returned home on Friday, saying there had been progress in strengthening Korea-China cooperation and even some unexpected gains for peace on the Korean peninsula.
It seems there was some progress in improving Korea-China cooperation, which was our original goal. And I think this could open up a new opportunity. I believe there was some unexpected progress for peace on the Korean peninsula.
Regarding his encounter with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un on Wednesday, Speaker Woo said that just being able to meet and shake hands was already an achievement, adding that many had thought the chances of meeting Kim before his trip to Beijing were very low. This echoes what he said at a press conference in China the day before.
It was hard to have a full discussion, which I find a bit regrettable. But given the current state of inter-Korean relations, I think even a brief meeting was still meaningful.
Woo left for Beijing on Tuesday evening to attend the military parade, and the next day he was seen shaking hands with a North Korean leader. According to the National Assembly Speaker's office, Woo told Russian President Vladimir Putin, who also attended the event, that he hopes the South and North will usher in an era of peace and prosperity and work toward building peace on the Korean peninsula. He also mentioned that South Korea is hosting next year's UNESCO World Heritage Committee meeting and asked Putin to convey to Kim his hope to visit North Korea's Mount Kumgang, recently named a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Shin Ha-young, Arirang News.
President Lee Jae-myung will host the leaders of the two major parties, Chung Cheong-rae of the Democratic Party, newly elected People Power Party Chairman Chang Dong-hyuk, for a luncheon next Monday. This will be the first meeting between the president and Chairman Chang, who was elected just last week. Following the main event, the two are scheduled to hold a separate one-on-one meeting to discuss key issues without a specific agenda. The presidential office hopes the gathering will open a new chapter in strengthening dialogue between the government and the opposition. In Portugal, 2 South Korean nationals are among the 16 victims who lost their lives in a crash of a popular funicular railway car in the capital city, Lisbon. Our Cha Yoon-kyung has the latest.
In the tragic crash of the historic Gloria funicular, 16 people were killed and more than 20 others injured. On Wednesday, around 6:15 p.m. local time, Lisbon's 140-year-old funicular train, which is popular with tourists, derailed and crashed into a building. Portuguese President Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa and Prime Minister Luis Montenegro visited the site of the funicular accident on Thursday evening for a mass in honor of the 16 victims of the crash. Prime Minister Montenegro called the crash, quote-unquote, one of the biggest human tragedies in the country's recent history, and President Rebelo de Sousa told the journalists that it was a time to mourn the deceased and to console their family members.
Today is a national day of mourning. It's mourning for Lisbon, but also for Portugal. In this hour of mourning, we are waiting for a time when, first and foremost, we must mourn the dead, respect the dead. Believers pray for the dead. Non-believers think of the dead.
The yellow funicular that carried many tourists up and down a steep hillside in Lisbon was left overturned on the cobblestone street. Of the 16 victims, the coroner has so far identified the bodies of 5 Portuguese, 2 South Koreans, and 1 Swiss national.
5 Portuguese citizens have been fully identified through scientific methods. 2 South Korean citizens. We have had close collaboration with the South Korean embassy from the outset, and 1 identified Swiss victim identified through Interpol.
According to Korea's Ministry of Foreign Affairs on Friday, the 2 Koreans are a man and a woman, and there was another injured Korean woman in the accident who is currently undergoing treatment in the intensive care unit of a local hospital after surgery. Meanwhile, President Lee Jae-myung on Friday extended condolences to the families of the victims of the deadly crash. He posted a message on Facebook saying, quote-unquote, "I offer my deepest condolences to the bereaved families and the people of Portugal, who must be in profound sorrow and shock, and I wish a swift recovery for the injured." He said the Korean embassy in Portugal formed a task force immediately after the accident, and the ambassador also checked the situation at the site of the accident. He added that the government will convey condolences to the Portuguese Prime Minister and request special support for Korean nationals. 차윤경, Arirang News.
Now, the recent animated movie, K-pop Demon Hunters, has been sweeping the hearts of many viewers. But how can those with visual impairments also enjoy the movie? An Sung-jin tells us how the efforts of transitioning nonverbal elements of content to verbal components can help.
각과 복고 차림의 진우가 굳은 얼굴로 서 있다. 호랑이가 진우의 팔에 얼굴을 비빈다.
This is a scene from the renowned Netflix film K-pop Demon Hunters. The Korean Community Media Foundation provided a screening of this popular movie with attached audio descriptions.
One of our major goals is to create no discrimination between disabled and non-disabled audiences in media. So we work on screening accessible movies.
For most of us, watching a movie means sitting back and soaking in the visuals. But we might be taking this for granted. Veteran Seo Soo-yeon redefines how stories are told and experienced. She started the Korea Content Accessibility Research Center, and for 23 years, she's been working on expressing nonverbal elements of content into spoken aspects.
To be honest, this was all very unfamiliar to me because no one had done it before. I had never thought that people with visual impairments couldn't watch TV. But I realized there are movements, actions, and nuances that they miss entirely.
Her work involves adding descriptions of subtle expressions and action sequences in between the spoken lines, creating a fuller cinematic experience for the visually impaired.
시장은 빈 그릇에서 가게 사장에게로 옮겨간다. 사장을 꼬챙이하고 물기고 있다.
For his Hall, effective audio descriptions aren't about matching visuals word for word, but rather producing context, clarity, and flow. But what she says what's often more important yet neglected is the language used that creates further division.
There shouldn't be hard lines drawn between people with and without disabilities, because anyone can become visually impaired. So we often frame accessibility as something only for people with disabilities, but it really starts with understanding others.
The push for accessible content is gaining ground, but there's still a long way to go. With efforts from people like Seo, moments that can be lost in darkness can enhance a powerful scene for everyone. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
In Seoul, the sounds of a ritual that once echoed during the Joseon Dynasty and the Korean Empire are alive once again, recalling prayers for the nation's stability and the people's well-being. Our Park Hyo-bin reports.
Sounds and moves from a century ago are once again coming to life. This is the Sajik Daeje, the music and dance that accompanied the royal ritual. The Sajik Daeje, dedicated to gods of land and grain, praying for abundant harvest and the well-being of the people from the Joseon Dynasty to the Korean Empire. This week, the National Gugak Center staged the Sajik Daeje to honor the ritual's cultural value, which was recognized as a national heritage.
The Sajik Daeje was a powerful symbol statehood. The music performed during the rite embodied the highest artistic and philosophical ideals of the time, carefully managed by the state itself.
This performance recreated the version from the Korean Empire era. It begins with the emperor's arrival at the Sajik altar and follows the ritual until his departure. Unlike modern reinterpretations, the focus here was on faithfully restoring the music and dances of the past rather than reinventing them. But Sajik Daeje also carries a painful history. During the Japanese occupation period, the ritual was abolished and its music and dances were lost. To mark the 1988 Seoul Olympics, the Sajik Daeje was revived after an 80-year absence, and the National Gugak Center presented it as a stage performance for the first time last year.
Reviving the Sajik Daeje is not only about restoring music and dance. It's about reclaiming our cultural identity and national pride, bringing it back in its full form, as it was performed in the Korean Empire, holds deep historical meaning.
Despite the history and essence, the Sajik Daeje is still less recognized by the public. The National Gugak Center hopes to have the ritual eventually inscribed on UNESCO's Intangible Cultural Heritage List, just like the Jongmyo Daeje.
We are working with the goal of having the Sajik Daeje officially recognized as a cultural treasure and eventually as a UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage.
And so, more than a century after being silenced, the voices of the Sajik Daeje rise again, reminding us that heritage, once lost, can be reborn to inspire a new generation. Park Hyo-bin, Arirang News.
There are many reasons to wait for Fridays, and one of them is definitely the arts and culture coverage by our dearest Gonu, who's here in the studio with us. Happy Friday, Gonu.
Happy Friday, Doyen.
So, what do you have for us today?
So if you're interested in art, you'll probably like today's story. As Korea's art scene is buzzing with events this month, Korea's largest art fair, Kiaf Seoul, which is currently collaborating with Frieze Seoul, is taking place at the COEX through this weekend. On-site works from leading domestic and overseas galleries are on display, bringing in political figures, including the First Lady and Seoul's mayor, and also celebrities including members of BTS, 17, and Blackpink. But before I tell you more, follow me and I'll show you all around. Wall after wall is filled with creativity. Creative artwork from a jumbo sculpture made of 500,000 Korean pennies to a three-dimensional piece that makes you feel as if it's alive is exhibited. To make this happen, the 24th edition of Kiaf Seoul brought together more than 170 galleries, with a third of them from overseas. Newcomers also joined, reflecting growing interest in Seoul's art market.
Korea has a very interesting, a real openness to the rest of the world, culturally. Very excited, to see how we could present our artists and our creation to the local Korean landscape, and in Seoul already discussing with other, artist curators to actually see how we could potentially work together.
This art fair, showcasing thousands of pieces, goes beyond viewing artwork. It also serves as a marketplace and a platform for networking. At the same time, the organizers are making efforts to encourage developing artists. Since 2023, Kiaf has been selecting 3 artists from 10 semifinalists, providing both funding and promotion. One of this year's semifinalists shared why his works drew global attention.
Because I use traditional Korean materials like mok and hanji, my monochrome work stood out among the more colorful pieces. With growing global interest in Korean culture, this sentiment seems to resonate.
Frieze Seoul, which is collaborating with Kiaf for a 4th year, also has a bunch to appeal to. One section that draws eyes is Focus Asia, which showcases artwork by emerging Asian artists and galleries.
I'm expecting to see just a greater focus on Asian artists. I started collecting Korean art a while ago, and I've been to Seoul 6 times. This might seem like a good opportunity to see a lot of different galleries at once from all over.
Among the highlights was Floating Rubble, which creates the illusion of rubble suspended in midair. And works by renowned masters, including Park So-bo, also appeared, some recreated digitally for a fresh experience. Media art installations, including one with the concept of being caught on fire, also drew interest. With record crowds flocking in on opening day, the twin art fairs are expected to attract even more through the weekend, making Seoul's art scene livelier than ever.
It looks really interesting, just seeing the 2 fairs collaborating for several years now. I can tell Seoul really seems to be positioning itself as an art hub. Tell us more.
Yes, so during my visit, I got to realize just how many visitors come from abroad just to the site. And not just to enjoy, but also to purchase these artwork at high prices, the highest being over $4 million so far, which shows how global attention is now centered on Seoul. So one expert explains what's behind all this trend.
These large-scale art fairs used to be centered in Hong Kong, But with that market shrinking, Seoul has emerged as an alternative, backed by the rising value of K content and Korean culture.
But we also have to know that the art industry itself is facing challenges with the economy slowing. While the number of participating galleries at Kiaf slightly shrank this year, the organizers said they try to focus on quality instead. And an expert says that can be better in some ways.
If the fair is larger, it might dilute attention. Hence, the focus on quality helped top-tier works gain more recognition, turning crisis into an opportunity.
And with Kiaf and Frieze pledging to collaborate next year as well, he said more global partnerships can be expected beyond the twin fairs.
It's great to hear that. And this month, I hear there's a lot of exhibitions and art events taking place. Why is that?
So the Culture Ministry has designated this month as Art Festival Month. So there are tons of events you can enjoy in Korea at this time of year. So please check out more information on the official website, which is also provided in English, Japanese, and Chinese. And you can also see that on the screen right now. Other than the ones I mentioned, there are 7 biennales happening in cities across the country, including Gwangju and Cheongju. The ministry is even offering discount coupons for these fairs of up to 50%. So be sure to check ticketing platforms such as Noel Interpark and Melon Ticket.
All right, Konu, thanks for that report. We'll see you next week.
All right, thank you.
Unlike yesterday, when the daytime temperature in the center part was below 30 degrees Celsius, a heat wave of around 33 degrees appeared across the country today. Therefore, the heat wave warnings have been expanded and strengthened. Rain is expected across the country this weekend. Strong and heavy rain will be concentrated mainly in western areas. More than 100 millimeters of rain will fall in southern Gyeonggi-do, Chungcheongnam-do, and Jeollabuk-do provinces, and 80 millimeters in the southern parts of Gangwon-do and Chungcheongbuk-do, and up to 80 millimeters is forecast for Seoul. The morning will start at 25 degrees in Seoul and Busan, 22 degrees in Gyeongju. Highs will move up to 30 degrees in Seoul, 34 degrees in Daegu and Gyeongju. Rain in the southern parts of the country will continue until early next week. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
That is all we have for tonight. I'm Kim Do-yeon from all of us here at Arirang. Thanks for watching and good night.
to set the facts straight. Get Korea right.
안녕하세요. 저는 방크에서 활동하는 홍단비 청년연구원입니다. 대한민국이라는 국가가 존재한다는 사실을 전 세계에 알리는 공식적인 징표이자 국민을 하나로 통합하게 하는 힘을 가진 이것. 바로 태극기인데요. 일제강점기 당시 태극기는 우리 민족을 하나로 통합시키는 구심점 같은 역할을 하기도 했죠. 대한민국 국기인 태극기에 대해 잘못 알고 있거나 오해하는 부분들이 가끔 발견되더라고요. 제가 태극기에 담긴 의미와 역사에 대해 제대로 알려드릴게요. 최초의 태극기는 1882년에 처음 만들어졌다고 해요. 이후 다양한 형태의 태극기가 제작됐다가 지금은 국가에서 국기를 체계적으로 관리하는 법을 만들어 시행하고 있어요. 태극기에 담긴 의미를 알아볼까요? 먼저 흰색 바탕은 밝음과 순수, 그리고 평화를 사랑하는 우리의 민족성을 나타내요. 태극기 가운데에는 태극 문양이 들어가는데요. 이 태극 문양은 우주 만물이 음양의 조화로 인해 생물을 얻고 발전한다는 대자연의 진리를 표현한 것이라고 해요. 다음으로 건공감리를 그려볼게요. 4개 모서리에 그린 4괴에는 각기 다른 의미가 있어요. 건괴는 하늘, 곤괴는 땅, 감괴는 물, 이괴는 불을 상징해요. 우리 선조들이 생활 속에서 즐겨 쓰던 태극 문양을 중심으로 만들어진 태극기는 우주와 더불어 끝없이 창조와 번영을 바라는 우리 민족의 이상을 담고 있답니다. 대한민국의 정체성과 자긍심을 드러내고 우리 민족을 하나로 뭉치게 하는 태극기, 우리의 자랑스러운 국가 상징입니다. 한국 바로 알리기. 여러분도 함께 해주세요.
held its first debate over the weekend.
The economy is expected to expand 2.5% this year.
Boosting Korea's ties with its global partners on the sidelines of the Status UN summit.
A massive drone attack on Ukraine overnight on Monday and Tuesday.
Arirang.
Welcome to Within the Frame, where we bring the most pressing issues across the globe into focus. I'm Kim Mo-gyan. The South Korea-New Zealand relationship is entering a pivotal chapter. As the two countries mark the 10th anniversary of their free trade agreement, they've also agreed to elevate ties to a comprehensive strategic partnership, laying the groundwork for expanded cooperation across trade, diplomacy, and regional security. All eyes are now on Gyeongju, where Korea is set to host the 2025 APEC Economics Leaders Meeting. And for both nations, it's a timely platform to advance shared goals from clean energy and inclusive growth to gender equality and digital innovation. And with growing global uncertainty, trusted middle powers like South Korea and New Zealand are being called to step up. In this exclusive conversation, we're joined by Dawn Bennett, New Zealand's ambassador to South Korea, to talk about the summit, the evolving partnership, and what's next on the horizon. A big welcome.
Kia ora. Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure, too. Now, let's start right away. So the APEC, the South Korea has been hosting key meetings ahead of the main event in Gyeongju, and with New Zealand, of course, being involved. I must ask, how are preparations going so far?
Thanks for the question. Well, New Zealand is a big supporter of APEC. We always have been. And we're a big supporter of Korea's host year. And we're very keen to work together with Korea to make this year a success. So, so far, Korea has announced an agenda that's focused on inclusive AI and the demographic shifts that we're all facing, and also the opportunities of culture and creative industries. So that actually is a very forward-looking agenda that aligns really well with our own priorities for the region. So we think things are going very well, and we're working hard with Korea to make the year a success. And for example, so far, the embassy steps in behind our delegations when they come here. So, for example, earlier this year, I was in Jeju with our Minister of Trade, the Honourable Todd McClay, who was here for the Trade Ministers meeting. And around the same time, I also stepped up to head the delegation at the Education Ministers meeting. And then just last week, I was in Busan with our Energy Minister, the Honourable Simon Watts, who was here for Energy Ministerial meeting. And every time one of these delegations comes, the whole New Zealand embassy team steps in to support them. It's a real team effort.
Wow, so New Zealand's active involvement in these preparations are already notable. Now, we are aware that this leaders meeting, APEC, is going to be held in Gyeongju, and it's a city of a long, 1,000 years of history in Korea. What does the city actually mean to you as a participant?
Well, as it happens, I love Gyeongju. It was the first place I went in my own leisure time after I arrived here in Korea to take up my posting. I love the deep historical connection and also the deep cultural ties that are there. And I was again there just this week, actually, the beginning of this week, to see the APEC preparations, which are going very well. I was received by the mayor of Gyeongju and also the governor of Gyeongsangbuk-do province to talk about the preparations and how they were going. And I think that, a summit for APEC is a very meaningful opportunity for important policy outcomes, and I think having those discussions in this place of such rich historical and cultural connections is going to be inspiring for all of the participants. And then a summit is also an opportunity for leaders to make real personal connections. Personally, I think with the backdrop of Gyeongju and its historical and cultural ties, all of the connections between our leaders, those relationships they forge are going to be more meaningful than ever.
Right. This choice of a very historic city definitely adds a lot of value to the meeting. Now, let's look at the big picture, Ambassador. So protectionism, of course, is on the rise lately, and APEC's mission of regional integration feels even more urgent lately. What role do you think this summit could play, and why is South Korea's latest hosting so significant?
That's a great question. Global protectionism, unfortunately, is on the rise these days. Multilateralism is facing real pressure. APEC's role in this context has never been more critical. APEC is all about, and it always has been all about, open dialogue, inclusive growth, and regional economic integration. And APEC 2025 in Gyeongju is a perfect setting, I think, to reaffirm those APEC values. And APEC's core strengths are about building economic opportunities, being an incubator of ideas, and also achieving consensus. So APEC 2025 will be an opportunity to reinforce those things that are particularly key right now in this global setting. I think it'll be an opportunity also to reinforce the importance of rules-based trade, cross-border cooperation and connectivity generally. So Korean leadership in this year and their focus on these emerging challenges that we talked about before, AI governance, demographic shifts and opportunities in culture and creative industries, makes for a really forward-looking agenda that speaks to the moment right now. I think it's all about navigating uncertainties together with a shared purpose.
Right, so it's going to be a very important event. Now, staying with the themes that you've mentioned, lately at the Women and Economy Forum, you've spoke about gender equality and demographic shifts. It's also one of the themes of this APEC. Why is this issue so important right now?
Yes, you're right. I did speak at that event. It was a great honour to talk there about promoting gender equality in the context of demographic shifts. Basically, demographic shifts are happening across the Asia-Pacific region. It's a real challenge for all of our economies that we all have to meet. But at the same time as we meet them, I think it's important to remember there's also an opportunity, for example, as we address these challenges, to also empower everyone, including women. So I think that gender equality has to be at the heart of how we address demographic shifts. Women have to be given the same opportunities in education, jobs, leadership, and also a more fair sharing of caregiving responsibilities. I think that if we do this, not only does it strengthen families, but also communities and economies. It's not only the right thing to do, it's also essential for sustainable growth. So I think I really personally appreciate Korea's leadership in putting this up there on the APEC agenda, and I think that Gyeongju could be a real opportunity for the region to come together to tackle these demographic challenges while also having gender equality at the core of any solution.
Right. So it's really amazing that social inclusion is also being discussed alongside, economic issues as well. Now, New Zealand, we are aware that it has hosted APEC twice in the past. From that experience, what kind of advice would you give to South Korea for a successful leaders meeting?
Right, yes, we have. We hosted APEC in Auckland in 1999, and then we hosted again in 2021, and that hosting year ended up being entirely virtual because it was right in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. I think the lessons that we learned from those hosting experiences were that APEC success is not all about just the formal outcomes. It's also about setting the right tone, fostering inclusivity and staying adaptable to the moment. So APEC thrives when economies feel heard and connected, and the connection is very important, both personal and digital. So Korea's focus on its three areas of focus during its agenda, I think, are already setting the right tone. And with the additional efforts that Korea is making to establish connections between leaders and, for example, the youth movement and meaningful opportunities for engagement between leaders and business, I think that the setting is really ripe with the backdrop of Gyeongju's historical and cultural significance for a really impactful APEC. I think it's going to be a summit to remember.
Well, let's hope so. Thank you for the valuable tips, Ambassador. Now, let's shift to bilateral ties. So this year marks the 10th anniversary of the South Korea-New Zealand FTA. How has this agreement reshaped, the trade between the two countries?
Yes, you're right. 2025 is a real milestone year for our bilateral relations between Korea and New Zealand. It's been 10 years since the entry into force of our Korea-New Zealand FTA in 2015. Now, in that 10 years, the trade between us has more than doubled, and Korea is now New Zealand's 5th largest trading partner, which shows the importance of the free trade agreement to our relationship. But it's not all about the numbers, it's also about future opportunities. So, for example, just last year, Korean consumers under the FTA gained the opportunity to access New Zealand blueberries and also a wider range of dairy products than they had had access to before. And in return, Korean exporters gained the opportunity to send their mandarins to New Zealand. So this sort of new access shows that it's a constantly evolving and alive agreement that continues to deliver real tangible benefits to both sides. And there is a lot of opportunity for us to do more. We're currently talking to Korea about exploring the possibility of maybe upgrading the agreement to keep it modern and cutting edge. And there are some other areas where we could potentially develop closer ties. We have a very complementary partnership. Korea has great strengths in technology and advanced manufacturing, and New Zealand has expertise in premium food and beverage and also sustainability and tourism. So there's a lot of opportunity for new growth, and I'm excited now to see what the next 10 years will bring.
Wow, right. So let's hope for, further developments in the area for the benefit of both countries. Now, in talking about that, recently in August, we hear that the two countries actually reaffirmed plans to upgrade ties to a comprehensive strategic partnership. So what kind of steps can we actually take to expand cooperation under that framework?
Yes, that's right. Last year when our Prime Minister came to Korea, our two leaders committed to elevating the partnership to a comprehensive strategic partnership. Now, we see this in many ways as actually just affirming the level of partnership that we already have. We feel that the depth and breadth of the relationship is already there at a comprehensive strategic partnership level, based on shared values, mutual respect, and a clear forward-looking vision for the Indo-Pacific, which we both share. So this is really a process to sort of formalise our relationship, which is already at that level. But it's not just symbolic. It is a strategic opportunity to future-proof the relationship. And there's a lot of areas in which we could do more. For example, AI, digital innovation, and space. And we also have a lot of shared alignment on climate action and sustainability. So, for example, renewable energy, carbon markets, Antarctic research. These are all areas in which working together we could have a real impact. And then we should also remember the people-to-people connections. So education, tourism, youth mobility, these are all opportunities to sort of build a really long-term future understanding between our societies, which leads to ever closer links.
Right. So this latest development to a strategic partnership would definitely, broaden the scope of cooperation between the two countries. Now, building on this, you've highlighted clean tech and renewables as also promising areas. So what kind of projects or discussions are actually underway under these sectors?
Yes, clean tech and renewable energy are central basically to both Korea and New Zealand, and how each of us can grow sustainably apart and also together. So we each bring a lot to the table. New Zealand has incredible natural energy resources, and we also have a strong track record in clean tech innovation. And Korea, of course, is a global leader in advanced manufacturing and also in green industry development. So there's a lot we can do together there. And there's already a lot of conversations happening, for example, around renewable energy infrastructure investment, and we're keen to build on those conversations. And the actual form or shape of this further work together could take a variety of shapes. It could be, for example, joint research or pilot projects or commercial partnerships. But in any of those areas, we're very keen to continue to develop those conversations.
Right, so it sounds very promising. Now, Ambassador, let's take a step forward beyond economy. So South Korea and New Zealand are trusted middle powers in this Indo-Pacific region. So lately, security challenges are definitely rising. How can we deepen cooperation, not just in trade, but also in diplomacy and security as well?
Yeah, thanks for this question. It's a really important one. New Zealand and Korea are very like-minded. We have been for a long time. We both share a strong commitment to democratic values and also to an international rules-based order. As things are looking more and more unsettled in the world, we're both working together very hard, not only on our bilateral relationship, but also working together in regional and multilateral organisations to advance our joint interests together. So, for example, as well as the big and obvious ones like the United Nations or the WTO, we are also both ASEAN dialogue partners, and we also both work together, for example, in the Pacific Islands Forum. So these are areas in which we can continue to cooperate to help pass our message out to the world and try and shape things the way we would like to see them go. We are also trusted defence and security partners. So New Zealand has had New Zealand Defence Force personnel in Korea for decades, actually, as part of the United Nations Command. That's something we've committed to a long time ago. We're still committed to that. Right now, in addition, we actually have a platoon of New Zealand Defence Force personnel on the peninsula training here for joint training exercises with the Korean Armed Forces and also with US forces that are based here.
Wow, so a lot of efforts are ongoing, and it seems this cooperation would also deepen in this diplomacy and security areas as well. Now, Ambassador, before we let you go, let me ask you a question on culture, excuse me. So you've shown real enthusiasm for South Korea's culture. How do you see K-culture serving as a bridge, between New Zealand and South Korea? And are there any embassy initiatives to promote such exchanges?
Yes, that's right. I have made no secret of the fact that I'm a big fan of K-pop, K-drama. I was even before I came here, and I continue to pursue those interests. But I'm not the only one. In New Zealand, K-culture is very popular. So K-pop, K-drama, K-beauty, K-food, K-culture, K-everything. It's very popular in New Zealand, and I think that is a sign of the success of the phenomenon of the Hallyu wave. As a result of this, it means that particularly young generations in New Zealand are more aware of Korea and Korean culture than I think their ancestors ever were. So there is growing knowledge in New Zealand about Korea and growing interest in coming here to explore further. What I'm very interested in as the New Zealand ambassador to Korea is equally developing Korean interest in New Zealand. Now, generally, I've found since I've been here that Koreans are already very interested in and aware of New Zealand culture, but they're always very keen to see more. So as an example, we recently had an initiative where at the National Museum of Korea, in the margins of an exhibition they have called Mana Moana, all about Oceania, we organised a performance of professional Maori singers and dancers to do a cultural performance there. It was hugely successful. We had more than 3,000 people came along. It was a lot of Korean people who took time out of their day to come and watch that performance. It was extremely successful, and I hope we get the opportunity to do more of those sorts of things.
Right, and I will take my time to, look for more of those events. So I hope this kinds of growing interest between the two countries' cultures would grow moving forward. Ambassador, thank you so much for making time for us tonight.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yes, and for your insights today. We look forward to seeing, more of Korea and New Zealand continue to strengthen their partnership in vast areas.
Kia ora. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
감사합니다.
And that'll be all from us on Within the Frame tonight. Be sure to tune in again next time as we continue to explore the stories that matter. Until then, stay informed and engaged.
Feeling overwhelmed by a busy life without knowing where you are heading.
Realizing your mind has gone completely blank.
If you need
some time and space,
stay, escaping from a hectic life and waiting for your heart.
Temple, a place for self-reflection through peace and calm.
walking and being in nature.
Slowing down your body and mind.
Staying for a joyful journey to face your inner self.
Focusing on the present moment. Finding the true happiness with yourself.
Emptying. Filling. Temple stay.
Building a sustainable tomorrow. Connect, innovate, and prosper. Connecting goods to goods, region to region, people to people, generation to generation. Facilitating innovation for all, closing the digital divide. Building an inclusive technology ecosystem, promoting digital innovation by deepening dialogues on AI. Achieving shared prosperity, addressing global challenges. Energy transition, climate change, population decline, and pandemic responses. APEC-related events continuing in Seoul, the capital of the Republic of Korea, where diverse cultures blend. Jeju, the beautiful island, blessed with UNESCO Natural World Heritage Sites. Incheon, the vibrant international city, central hub, connecting Asia Pacific. Busan, the largest maritime city, centering around maritime trade